Oh, good day. Welcome in. It's good day. It's actually getting towards evening right now, and it has been unbelievably hot today. I think we hit 100 degrees. It's supposed to be over 100 the next week or something like that here. So I'm staying indoors and just enjoying a little refreshment here. I'm enjoying Laphroaig. They're 10-year aged. Just a little bit. Laphroaig is probably not my favorite Scotch, but it's a really good go-to. It's easy to find in this area. Yeah. Man, that was good. Well, you actually haven't seen this part of what I call my library. This is really my living area. Where you normally see me is actually my older brother's upstairs quarters. He lives with us, and he occupies a good portion of the upstairs level. And so you see me buy all of his books. But this is by some of my books. I've actually got this full-length bookshelf and a couple more down here. We'll actually look at some stuff on this one here. But we have these really nice pictures here too. My wife helped kind of put some of this together. This bar cart is just out of your view, is from a great aunt of hers, and it's really fabulous, in great condition. So I've got our couple scotches here, a nice lamp, a crucifix, and this picture, my mother actually painted this. She was just getting into watercolor painting, and this is kind of towards the beginning of what she did. She signed it here, Grandma. It's for us, for one of our children. And you'll recognize these two. So this here is an illustration from Chris Dunn from The Wind in the Willows that we saw a couple times ago. This is actually Badger and Mole, I believe, sitting in Toad Hall when they're all staying there to try and help Toad reform himself. And they're just sitting there in the evening in front of the fire, and Badger's enjoying a pipe. Wonderful print. And this is actually quite funny. If you've ever bought a bottle of Laphroaig, it comes in a canister, and it has an invitation to be a friend of Laphroaig. And this is actually the reward you get. So I'll actually read this here. A condition of this award, we agree to pay a yearly ground rent in the sum of 1 dram of Laphroaig to be claimed in person at the distillery. So that's so funny that they're willing to pay you to be a friend of Laphroaig, and they'll pay you in a dram of Laphroaig. I have yet to take them up on that. It's a long journey to Islay, but I'd love to make it sometime. It's very funny here. It says, the leaseholder's cupboard will contain at all times essential equipment, including for ascertaining the boundaries of the plot. They give you I believe it's a square foot. For ascertaining the boundaries of the plot, 1 tape measure, a pair of Wellingtons, size 12, approximately 1 foot in length. For the journey to the plot, protective headgear against low-flying geese, a thick overcoat to repel the inclement Scottish mist, a lifeboat and anchor, and 1 ball of string for securing trouser legs from inquisitive stoats, and a towel for the leaseholder to dry off in the event of unwelcome attention from affectionate otters. I think that's very funny, a fun conversation piece there. But what you really care about are these books. So this bookshelf has a bunch of novels on the bottom that honestly I have not read for ages. This shelf here that you can just see has a lot of the classic children's literature that I've collected for me and my wife and for our children. So it has Bramley Hedge that we looked at. I have a couple of the fairy books from Andrew Lang and the Narnia Chronicles, etc. Here are books of poetry, so we can go back all the way to these are some poetic works from the Old English poet Cynewulf, I believe that's how you say it, not sure. But we get all through, Virgil. I have Yeats and Robert Burns. Here's Paradise Lost. This is actually a novel, not poetry, but a couple copies of the Divine Comedy and some others there. So that's what kind of lives there. And then this top shelf here, my smoking paraphernalia sits here. So I have a couple pipes and my tobacco that kind of sit there, some odds and ends, some papers and birthday cards from nieces and that sort of thing. But here, I want to show you, this is my collection, small collection of Arthurian literature. Now, I have a couple duplicates, but we'll just kind of look at these. So this first one here is Virgil's Aeneid. And of course the question is, why on earth would that be with your Arthurian literature? Well, of course you have to read Geoffrey of Monmouth's History of the British Kings. And he describes that Brutus, I believe it's a descendant of Aeneas, who's the hero in Virgil's Aeneid, is the one who goes and founds Britain. And of course, King Arthur is a descendant of his. So that's how the matter of Troy ties in with the great matter of Britain. So this is a really awesome copy. This is translated by John Dryden. I think I've shown this to you before. But really great verse, nice big text, nice hardcover copy in a slipcase. I believe that's by the Heritage Club. They have some really great copies. I have a handful actually. This big one here is from the Limited Editions Club or Society, I can't remember, but this is a copy of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And it's just huge. You have here this nice spine, pentangle on there. But yeah, this huge copy, and I'll show you just how gorgeous it is. So these wonderful illustrations here. And the fantastic thing is, this has facing text. So it has on one side the original Old English, and on this near side, on the right-hand side, it has the modernization by, I believe it's Richard Armitage. Originally modern verse translation by James Rosenberg, so not Richard Armitage. And it has that facing text there, which is just fantastic. And it has some illustrations throughout, so this is a very cool copy. It is quite big, so we'll actually see another copy of Sir Gawain, because this is hard to take just anywhere. But I've got a couple more paperback copies. This is Penguin Classic. This is actually the edition that I first read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight on as an adult. I'm sure I had read it during my school years, but as an adult, kind of coming back to it and revisiting and falling in love with Arthurian literature again, this was that first copy. And then this copy by Marie Boroff, which actually has all of the poetic works of the Gawain poet. We don't know exactly who it is, but they have several other poems. I've only read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and the poem Pearl, which if you've heard of the Gawain poet, you've heard of Pearl as well. So just fantastic. Marie Boroff does a really excellent job in giving an alliterative verse translation, which I love alliterative verse. I'm writing my own Arthurian poem in alliterative verse. Next here we have Every Man's Library, Arthurian Romances by Crescent of Troy. I've had this for ages, and it's a really nice copy. It was, I had started reading it when I was still in high school, and I was at the stage where I wanted to be a person who liked reading classical literature. I didn't quite like reading old literature at the time, but I wanted to be someone who enjoyed it. So I picked this up, and what you find very often is the authors are just as human as you or I, and so they're speaking to very similar desires that you and I have today. So very approachable, very easy to read, a lot of fun. I still have yet to read a couple of his romances, but we'll get there eventually. What I'm reading now is Lamort d'Arthur. This is a copy by, I believe, the Medici Society. Is that right? Yeah, the Medici Society in London. And just a fantastic copy. So this is an unabridged text of Malory's Lamort d'Arthur, which I wanted. I wanted unabridged because I just wanted to read the original. I didn't need someone to kind of go between. I'm sure a translation like that would be nice, but that's in the future. So I'm making this is probably so far the largest inspiration for all of the Arthurian details in my poem. So I'm making a second perusal through this. I'm about halfway through, but I'm enjoying this, quite a bit. This copy is really nice. It has this excellent dust wrapper, and then the case. It's like a cloth. It doesn't feel super high quality, but maybe just because it's old and been touched quite a bit, so it doesn't have the same, texture as a canvas would maybe. This is a really cool one. So a lot of these picks I actually first saw from Malcolm Guite, what he has in his library. And a similar copy of this he has. I had to kind of hunt a little bit, but this is a copy of the romance of Tristan and Isolde. And it has these awesome illustrations. And again, nice big text, big margins, we talked about last time. There are 2 pages where it looks like a child got a pen and was coloring in this a little bit. But yeah, just an incredible copy. Nice thick paper, excellent text. I have yet to read this, but it's just incredible. It's a really nice copy. So I'll probably just, I'll have that forever. Next year, we're getting into a little bit more contemporary works. I have a copy of Idylls of the King. I haven't read this one either. So 2 years ago, I spent about a year and a half reading everything I could get my hands on medieval literature and Renaissance poetry and all that sort of thing. But I had never dived into Arthurian literature specifically. So beginning of this year, I started. And that was around the time that I started writing my poem as well. So kind of solidifying some of those things in my imagination by writing a poem. And so now I'm reading through the Arthurian literature. It's a lot of fun because anything that's ever been written about Arthur gets brought into this greater, living work of Arthur. He's always a contemporary figure. He's never a distant relic of the past, to use someone else's words. Which is why it makes it easy for me to write a poem about it, and hopefully it would be, get caught up in the story of Arthur. But this is a copy of Tennyson's Idylls of the King. This is by the Heritage Press. So again, this is another copy of the Heritage Press that I have. Really nice hardcover copy, great text, and it has some illustrations throughout. That's Sir Geraint, Sir Balin, which I love that story. Sir Balin and his brother. Anyway, really great copy there. Nice slipcase again. And then the Once and Future King, which you could probably easily spot. This is T.H. White, so if you've seen the Disney Sword in the Stone, that's based off of this work. But just an incredible copy. If we do this here, actually, you have a full bit of art, this castle on the cover and spine itself, which is very cool. And it doesn't seem to be cheap. Like if I rub my hand, it doesn't like smudge off like maybe you would expect with a less expensive copy. So it is really a very nice copy by the Folio Society. I'm sure you've seen that, and it has some really fantastic illustrations throughout. There's Merlin. He's kind of this figure of the future almost. Here's another one. I like all those animals around. Anyway, and then the last items I have in this collection are these, the Legends of King Arthur, also the Folio Society. I got all of this stuff around Christmas time this last year. I took all of my Christmas money that I got and a little extra and bought a lot of these books. But this is just really nice. It's a really solid hardcover. And it has these illustrations by Roman Pisarev, which are very quite nice. Try and find another one here for you. There's a handful. That's cool. Let's find. Oh, I like this one. Just really great illustrations. So this has Tales of Arthur, and the same copy, it looks exactly the same, but it has Concerning the Holy Grail and Concerning Tristan. So excellent copies there. Yeah. So I'm glad you got to see a portion of my library, actually, because we're normally in someone else's library. But there's my Arthurian literature, all my inspiration from the Tales of Arthur, the Matter of Britain, that I've included in my poem, stem largely from those, and again particularly from Le Morte d'Arthur of Mallory's. So thanks for stopping by. I'm glad you could do so. It feels like we just saw each other, but it's always nice to see you again. Thanks for stopping around.